After 1 week, it is best to check her acceptance. A comb is removed from the center of the hive. Here the queen has established a good, closely packed brood nest. All is well. Until now, the colony's requirement for food had been assured by the frames of honey. To stimulate development of the brood nest, it requires a constant stream of liquid food as well as a regular supply of pollen. When the outside sources are insufficient, small helpings of food in liquid or solid form must be given. It pays us handsomely to give regular feeds of sugar syrup until the first brood emerges. All signals are now set to clear the way for a healthy and rapid development of the new colonies. They are a young queen, new combs, many young bees, a steady stream of food and a good supply of pollen. Another way of forming new young colonies is making nuclei with combs of emerging brood. The adult bees, having been brought home about 9 days previously, are queenless, and the frames by now contain only sealed brood and stores of honey. A sufficient number of brood boxes with floors and roofs must be prepared in order to divide the large accumulation of bees and brood into nuclei. These brood chambers should contain frames in the following order: an empty drawn comb, then a pollen comb, next to a comb of honey. Then we leave a gap to take the brood combs. Beyond the gap there should be 2 more frames of drawn comb and a frame feeder filled with soft candy. Now we transfer some of the frames of brood with the bees, having removed, of course, any emergency queen cells on the frames. Nuclei are made of different strengths depending on the time of the year, the way we requeen the stocks, and their final utilization. When insufficient bees are available, other bees can be shaken into the box after the frames have been closed up. Finally, in this case, the nuclei are given a ripe queen cell each. All other nuclei are formed in the same way. The original collection of bees and brood frames has now shrunk to a small nucleus which also needs a queen. Next, we open the entrance holes and let the bees fly. If necessary, these nuclei can be treated with an approved varroacide. Around 4 weeks after their formation, the nuclei can be given more room, and second brood boxes have to be prepared in advance. They should contain 2 bait frames for drone comb, as well as frames of drawn comb removed from honey-producing colonies. These young colonies need more room when they have at least 8 frames of brood and are full of adult bees. Nuclei which have not reached this strength before the end of July should be left in single brood boxes. Where extra room is needed, 2 frames of sealed brood are removed from the brood nest and transferred into the new upper hive body. This brood should occupy the central space made available by the removal of the 2 varroa bait frames. After closing the gap in the lower brood chamber, the 2 bait frames are used to fill the empty space along the outer hive wall of the lower brood box. Burr comb is removed from the top bars of the frames. The new brood chamber is put on top. This completes our manipulations on this colony, and we deal with the other stocks in the same way. The new comb now encourages the queen to expand her brood nest into the second brood chamber. At this time of the year, any extension to the brood nest should be made with drawn frames rather than with foundation. Pollen-clogged combs can also be used. It is possible to judge colony strength and the need for expansion by the number of passages which are packed with bees and by the large patches of brood. When nectar flows become scarce and insufficient, it's important to continue giving a little extra food in order to stimulate brood rearing. The food can be given as soft candy or, as in this case, in the form of granulated blossom honey. Giving solid food ensures that bees take the food slowly and do not fill the combs too quickly. The surface of the honey is covered with paper in order to avoid bees getting covered with sticky honey. This quantity is sufficient for about 14 days. The colonies are weighed at the end of August. The weight indicates whether the stores will be sufficient for winter or if additional feeding is needed. In late autumn, any additional food should be given as concentrated sugar syrup so that it can be taken down rapidly, ripened and sealed. But let's return to the honey-producing colonies. They are now on the heather moors in order to secure a last crop. When conditions are right, the heather can be an excellent source of nectar and pollen. In order to secure a heather honey of low water content at this late time of the year, it's especially important that the space available for honey storage is restricted to suit the strength of the colony. A colony on the heather should have an abundance of foragers as well as many combs of brood. When the heather flow is over, the colonies are ready for the removal of the honey crop and their dissolution as individual colonies. In order to prevent robbing, the entrance holes are blocked up first. Before we begin to dissolve the old honey producers, we deal with the one colony which will stay on this site in order to absorb any combs of brood which we find in the other stocks. Any varroa mites left in the brood cells will be eliminated later after the last bees have emerged. At the same time, this colony will also absorb all flying bees left behind when our work is done. First, we make an assessment of the state of the colony and the amount of brood. At the same time, we look for the queen and cage her. Only combs with brood are left in the lower brood chamber. All other frames, empty or full of honey, are brushed free of bees and transferred into a spare hive body. Combs with brood from the upper brood chamber are transferred to the lower one. Here too all other frames are brushed free of bees and are removed.